What is up, YouTube? Victor, the rookie card specialist here on YouTube, coming at you chill mode. Just wanting to show you guys my video that I want to put together real quickly just for the Chicago Sports Spectacular that occurred this past weekend. What I didn't want to do, I guess, is I wanted to take a different angle on it. Now, most card show videos that you watch, you're going to see you know, deals being made, or here's what I picked up, or here's just showcases of cards and that sort of thing. But I kind of wanted to think outside the box a little bit, and I wanted to present the Chicago Sports Spectacular. If you wanted to come into the show, what you can expect, and I wanted to give you guys just some details on that side of it in the event you'd never have come, but perhaps you're considering coming. I just want to give you some ins and outs on this particular show. Now, if you've been to the National in Chicago, it's very similar to that show. And the reason why I say that is it's in the same building as the National in Chicago. Also, the venue is very similar. Um, as far as the setup is very similar, the food is very similar. It just really mimics the National in every aspect, and that's why I'm grateful for this show, because it's only like a 45-minute drive for me to get in, and I get like a little mini National 3 times a year. This show is held 3 times a year. I actually have a couple of banners here that I wanted to show everybody uh, for that purpose. But with that said, I want to show you guys, in the event that you haven't came to the National in Chicago, in the event that you want to come to the Chicago Sports Spectacular, you're going to know the ins and outs of what to expect. So you ready? Let's get right into it. The first thing I wanted to show you was the Sky Bridge. Now, personally, I love the Sky Bridge because the parking lot is across the street from the convention center. You pay $15 to park your car, and you take the elevator to the Sky Bridge. Now the Sky Bridge is it's like a enclosed hallway per se, but it's pretty far, it's pretty long. And you got to be careful that you're reading the signs. Let me see if I got a little something here. I am trying to learn this new software for here, so give me 1 second. Yeah, okay. So this is the long, narrow hallway, right? And what you got to be careful is that you read the signs carefully, because you can very easily, because the hallway will Y on you. So it'll those different paths that you can take, and if you take the wrong turn, it'll send you to across the street to some hotel room lobbies. It'll just send you like all over the place, and there's different areas of the convention center that it can send you to. So you want to make sure that you're reading the signs as you're going down the Sky Bridge. And I really love it because at some point of it, you come across this here, which is the front of the building. You can see it through the Sky Bridge, and you can see the front of the convention center. Just a fabulous, fabulous view. And that Saturday was kind of cold, raining. It rained like all day. I could not believe how much rain we had, and but didn't really, when you're enclosed inside of the Sky Bridge, that doesn't it's really not a big deal. um Also, you know, off to the right is where the lower level is at, which is typically where um the National is at. It's like the main level, but the main level had like a tattoo show this weekend. So the Chicago Sports Spectacular was on the second floor. So instead of going down the escalator, you make a left and you come to the front entrance here. Now, this was nice because the last time I went to the show in November, I had to stand in line for an hour and a half before I was able to purchase my ticket. That's how many people were there. Now, I think a lot of it wasn't just the crowd. I think a lot of it was that last November, they only had a couple of people working the ticket booths. But this time, there were much much more prepared. They had enough staffing where they had like 6 people, I believe it was, selling tickets to get in. So that was a huge help. Something that they did a little differently this time around is this. Uh, I have never seen them do this before. This was the admission ticket that you give to the guy at the door, and it's basically it was the size of a business card is all it was. But I noticed this little hologram that they put up there in the upper right hand corner of the business card, and I found that pretty interesting. Make sure that there's no counterfeits roaming around. And unfortunately, you give this guy to the guy at the door, he doesn't give it back to you. He rips it in half and throws it in a box. But just wanted to throw that at you because it's something different that I've never seen before. Once you get in, you're going to see the big beautiful banner and the big display and to be honest with you, this show is marketed primarily for autograph memorabilia, and that's the main vein of this show. It's advertised as 350 plus tables, and I would say that's fairly accurate. And out of those 350 tables, I would say about 100 of them are vendors who sell memorabilia, and a lot of the vendors will carry memorabilia of the people who are signed up to sign autographs, the guest. And so they will have plenty, anything you need is there. But a lot of the people, they bring their own memorabilia. A lot of people bring these gigantic pictures, and they'll bring their own memorabilia that they want signed and that sort of thing. The crowd, I heard through the grapevine that Friday was kind of slow. For a Friday, I'm not surprised for a Friday, especially with where the show's at, with some slight construction going on, and so this was about 9 o'clock in the morning. Um, fair, just a moderate amount of people, but as the day moved on, this was I would say this one was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I went over to the center of the room around 12:30, and this was the amount of people that were there. It was packed, but it wasn't like unbearable where you couldn't like move or anything. Everything was very well spread out and very, I should say, comfortable. You did run into some patches here and there where you kind of had to do the penguin walk, but for the most part, you flowed in and out very nicely. Who was there? Good question. Beckett was there, and so was PSA. They were there, but they were not taking anything that had to do with cards. They were there specifically for memorabilia authentication only. And who else was there? Um, Chicagoland Sports Cards. They sell unopened product. I bet you they did very well. They had very little competition there. If you can see the guy in the blue T-shirt all the way straight across in the back, uh, those are all tables full of unopened product, and they had tables off to the side on the side of this long row of unopened product, and they did very well. I'm pretty sure because they had tons of people at their table constantly because the selection that they had was pretty intense. Also, um, the Chicago Sports Spectacular is heavy on vintage. I would have to say, all right, so let's say we got 350 tables, 100 of those tables are for memorabilia. The remaining 250 tables, I would have to say is, let's just split it in half. 125 tables are vintage and 125 tables are modern and ultra modern. But here we have, and they come from all over. Here we see in the upper left hand corner, we see Sports Card Plus. He's from Cooper City, Florida. Great vendor, really nice guy here. The type of vintage that this guy had. Oh my goodness, guys! I tell you, Amazing. We also had oldfootball.com. This guy specifically dealt with vintage football. Uh, you see a lot of vintage, but you always see a lot of baseball vintage in these types of shows. But when you see a guy who specifically deals with football vintage, it was pretty special to see. He had some very nice stuff. Also, 707 Sports Cards. He's a permanent fixture here at these shows in Chicago. But obviously, he has a lot of pre war cards and a lot of golden age vintage cards. And also, this guy here, hockey vintage galore. This guy had in the center here. You see all these showcases. He has like 10 of them there. He made like an island out of them. These these showcases are all filled with vintage hockey. It's amazing the stuff that this guy was selling. And he had the surrounding tables around that island. All of that was his as well. And it was he had from vintage from the 1950s and 60s all the way to the ultra modern. He had it all. This guy was amazing. Also, here we see Stans and Uncle Dick's. These guys are, permanent fixtures here at the Chicago Sports Spectacular. When we have a national here in Chicago, I guarantee you'll see these guys here. And these are just the well-known people that I'm showing you. There was countless of tables of collectors and dealers that just had one or two tables, and it's all vintage. There's a lot of vintage vendors here. With that said, I want to park here for just a minute. This is the last slide here I'm going to show you, but I'm going to talk about two things real quickly here. The first one is, a lot of people asking for John Morant, and I get, I get the hype, right? I understand that people like to follow the players who are hot, and I did it for years. I understand the excitement about sell or purchasing cards of hot players in the hobby. My only thing is, and I believe I love the philosophy that Ed Weskergriff has, and he basically shares, you know, you don't have to ask anybody and everybody who to buy. All you got to do is follow the sport or watch the games, as he likes to say. And I totally agree with that. And I can tell you, when I see a talent, because I've been watching sports long enough now, when I see a talent that is exceptional, I can tell. And I remember, watching Michael, and I know that bar is really high, but I remember when Kobe Bryant came in, and I was watching Kobe play, and I was starting to see the similarities in Kobe that I saw in Michael, just the athleticism, the shooting ability, the finesse with the basketball handling. And I tell you, you can tell when you see a Patrick Mahomes and you see him scrambling outside the pocket and you see these fantastic throws. You can just tell when somebody has it, the it factor. But now I've watched 3 games with John Morant this year, and I can tell you that when I watch his ball handling skills and when I watch his shooting percentage and when I just watch him shoot the ball just in general, I'm not very impressed. And so I don't know. I just, before I go spending hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars on a player, I want to make sure that this guy has the goods. And I don't, maybe it's just 3 games that I watched. Maybe this is just an observation. This isn't a fact. It's just an observation that I've made on him. And all I'm bringing up is, be sure you really like the player. If you're going to spend big money on them, watch them to make sure that they have that it factor. That's all I'm saying. The next thing that I want to talk about here is the junk slab era. I've been hearing it and hearing it and hearing it, but now I had the opportunity to experience it for the first time. Now, my strategy typically when I go to shows, these are the types of boxes that I look for, the slab boxes. And I love these. to be honest with you, uh, they are typically my go-to. But I made a goal this year that the problem was that I was spending all my money when I went to shows on these types of boxes. And then when it was time to make the big purchase, I was out of money. So I wanted to flip that this year. But this is really the first show that I've gone to this year because I was rehabbing for surgery. But I went to the show. I didn't have a lot of money on me. I had less than $300 on me. So I wasn't going to get anything big. I already knew that going in. So I stuck to these boxes. The thing with these boxes is that I typically would see maybe a dozen or so at a show, and I would go through them and pluck out what I want. Now, the problem is that these things were everywhere. Every other vendor had boxes like these set up. Some vendors had complete tables of slabs like this just set out. But the problem is when you go through them, all it was 2020, 2021, ultra modern, basketball mostly, and baseball. And it was just so disheartening. It's like you saw these piles and piles of slabs of nobodies. I mean, they weren't even star players. And then you would see some star players. You saw plenty of LeBron James, but there were, 2020, 21 select LeBron James base. And it's like, wow, I get it now. And they had like, they'll have a base card of LeBron out of select, but they'll have like 20 of them. And it's like, my goodness, people. And I was really disheartened with that situation here. Just junk slab everywhere. With that said, though, I was able to pick up. I only picked up 4 cards, but there were 4 cards that I was excited to pick up. The first one, let me flip this script here like this. The first one here is 97 Metal Universe, Tim Duncan in a PSA 9. I am putting together his rookie card set registry. He has 18 official rookie cards in that registry. This, I believe, is going to be number 12 for me on that list. I picked up this awesome 94 Upper Deck Michael Jordan. I am planning on reaching out to a PSA. I want a Michael Jordan baseball set registry, master set registry, just him featured in baseball uniform. And so I've been working on that one, this one, little by little here and there. And PSA doesn't have that registry. Surprisingly, was that I'm going to be reaching out to them to get that one created. I picked up this one for the top 100 cards of the 1980s. Gary Sheffield, future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. And I picked up this young man because I love the way he plays. I have a lot of cards of him that I picked up at a card show last year, but nonetheless, I really like Bo. I think he's the real deal. And those are my pickups. And that is, hopefully, again, guys, my goal here with this video was simply to present the show to you in a different angle. In the event that you are considering coming to this show, you will have a better idea of what to expect to see if it's even worth your efforts. With that said, hey guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Please help this channel grow by clicking on that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it, and I will catch you on the next one.